You know what I like? Transformers. You know what else I like? Toys. So obviously I have some Transformers toys. Now let me show you all my deluxe figures. Cause if I showed you my one step, we would be here for a while. Anyways, let's get started. Up first, we have Snarl. Now you might be wondering why I posed him like this, but that's because he broke his leg off. Now unfortunately for you, it's the leg with a head, so I'm not gonna show him in his transformed mode as a stegosaur. I mean, on the plus side, it doesn't really affect his standing. I mean, even when he had both legs, I remember he wasn't a very good stander. I still have his axe, however, I lost the blade, which would transform into a second set of dorsal plates. I don't really know why they chose to do that. Now, on the plus side, I can use his axe as a cane, kinda like the one Jetfire has. Standing upright, he comes in at about 15 centimeters. Snarl out of the way, let's move on to Slash. Now, unlike Snarl, she can actually stand. But that's probably because I lost her tail. One of the biggest problems I had with Slash was that the tail made her unbalanced. But eventually it did rip off because I was playing too hard with it. In case you were wondering, this is what she looks like without a tail. Yeah, I also lost her arms. Now she is smaller than Snarl, coming in at about 12 centimeters at the head. Now for Scorn, who has also lost a leg. Unlike Snarl, I couldn't find his other leg. However, there is something you may notice that will continue to be a pattern throughout this video. That being his head, he's missing it. Like most of the other Transformers that had ball joints on their head, this guy's head popped off and ended up probably being sucked in a vacuum somewhere. The other thing I don't like about Scorn is his leg. It's really wobbly and sometimes falls off. Now, Scorn is probably one of the larger figures I have, being 16.7, I think, centimeters. Oh, and in case you were wondering, I would much rather prefer to have the Last Night Scorn. Now, for Crosshairs. As you can see, I gave him Hotshot's arm, and at this point, I think you should know why. Both him and Hotshot both have their heads missing, but Crosshairs was dumped in a pool accidentally. Something I don't like about them is that they're basically just cars. I mean, look at this. Half of him is literally just a car. Another thing I don't like are these tabs, which are made of rubber. They are just extremely difficult to put in. Now, both him and Hotshot come in at about 12 centimeters. Speaking of Hotshot, hang on. That's better. Now, I won't go into too much detail, but there is something I feel like I should point out. And that's that they painted Crosshair's wheels, but didn't paint Hotshot's wheels. Now, it's time for Strafe. Now, Strafe is definitely the most intact Age of Extinction figure I have. I mean, maybe aside from Hotshot, because they're both only missing a head and 2 weapons. However, Hotshot is missing a wheel on his leg, so I'm gonna give the point to Strafe. Another thing I like about Strafe is his gun, or crossbow in this case. It actually shoots an arrow. Not something you see very often. Now, Strafe is around 14 centimeters tall and has a wingspan of 26 centimeters. Last for our Age of Extinction figures is Slug. Now, this is the part where I would start rambling on about what I have to say about him, but I don't really have much to say about this guy. I mean, other than his front horn being missing, and the fact that I kept his head for a while and used it as a grenade because I was too lazy to put it back on. I don't know what else to say about this purple Triceratops. Now, Slug comes in at around 14.5 centimeters. However, I can officially say that I own all the Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Dinobots. And here's a group shot of all my Age of Extinction figures. Now, Steeljaw. As you can see, his right arm has been completely torn off, but other than that, he is intact. Like Scorn and Snarl, his legs are really wobbly, which doesn't let him stand very easily. Now, I thought his arm was meant to be like this, and that it could only be like this. Short and can't really do much, but you can pull it out to make it longer and more posable. Steeljaw is about 14 centimeters tall at the shoulder. And here are all my Robots in Disguise figures. Moving on. Starting off the last night with Slash again. This time I chose not to rip her tail off. And she still even has one of her arms. I also think she has a better color scheme than the 2014 one. Not saying the Age of Extinction Slash was bad. It was just bad. The back is better with a tail. Not to mention it makes it look a lot more bulky. And both of the axe's colors are pretty good. Putting her axe in the raptor arm, she is around 14 centimeters tall. Now, Berserker. Now, Berserker is one of two Decepticons in my collection, the other being Steeljaw. As you can see, he's missing both of his arms, which is something unique about him, I guess. He is also missing the back part of his vehicle. Now, with his legs crouched, Berserker is basically, 13 centimeters tall. But if you have your Berserker feet like this, which is not how you're meant to do it, he comes in at about 15 centimeters. Lastly, we have Squeaks. Squeaks is the only figure I have that I didn't get in Australia. I got him in my trip to the Philippines in 2018. Now, I do have his carriage, but I'm just too lazy to find all the pieces because it broke. Squeaks is definitely the most intact piece I have. The only things he's missing are his alternate arms. And that's a shame because I think that they look better than both of these. Now, Squeaks is definitely the shortest figure I have, being about 6.5 centimeters. And here are all of my Last Night figures. Here are all my Autobots, both my Decepticons, and then here is everyone. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be Strafe. I mean, I think he has a good design, great articulation, his weapon actually fires, and his other mode looks good. So that's why he's my favorite. Also, I just kind of like blue. So, yeah, that was it. Whether or not I'll be collecting more deluxe figures over time remains to be seen. Who knows, maybe I'll even pick up a Voyager or two. Anyways, that's all from me. Enjoy these images of Cybertronians absolutely wrecking each other.